I keep things moving. Y'all know how I do. So without further ado, let me make sure I got my applause.
Hey,
let me turn that down. Okay, let me turn that down. See, I tell you, I got all kinds of apparatuses working over here. Okay, let me see if my applause button is working. Okay. Yes. Okay, good. Without any further ado, we want to bring on this lovely couple that has been doing their great work all over the world and helping young men and women to get their mind right when it comes to getting their behind right with the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes they behind, I don't know what they doing in the background. Y'all save it for later now. Y'all in the background here chilling. So enough respect to them. Let's welcome right here on King Simon Presents Only Quality People, the couple of the century, Montsho and Nwasha. How y'all doing?
Greetings. How are you?
You seen her jumping on me, right?
Yeah, I seen it. That's good.
That's her style. That's her style.
To still have a wife that jumps on you, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. 23 years later, she's still jumping on me. I feel good.
I give that applause. I give that a round of applause, brother.
Yes. So thank you, beloved, for having us, and thank you for being flexible. Man, yes, I appreciate you. I was very inspired. When my things don't work out, if my wife's not here, I'm in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah.
I get stuck with that tech stuff.
Man, so. I learned to work both sides of the hemisphere real quick.
I heard that. That's what we should all be doing.
I think that's the martial arts helped me to be able to develop both sides quick. You know, because you get in the dojo, they teach us on one side, you got to do the other side. So it's always one weapon, one technique on this side, another technique on the same side. And so I commend all the people that I trained under for many years that helped me to reestablish this ambidextrous type hand movement. I can still write right and left. I could draw with my left and right. I had to get that back on point. But thank you very much for coming on. Now, you got something coming on. First and foremost, let me tell y'all, let me read something about them. It said about their Akoma House Initiative. Akoma House Initiative is a culturally based counseling and consulting firm. Our mission is to offer relationship empowerment in a culturally relevant fashion. Our dynamic program offers holistic support for men, women, couples, and children. So, hey, this is the book to get, family. I'm telling you, I use it. I share it with family members. So let's give that a round of applause. What's up, family? What y'all got coming up? I see y'all got something coming up. Let's talk about it real quick, briefly. What's happening?
Yeah, so we got a couple of things coming up. First, second, I'll deal with the second thing first. We have the 23rd annual celebration of Akoma Day, the international alternative to Valentine's Day. We in 16 countries with thousands of people celebrating. This is a 7-day holiday from February 14th to February 20th. And this year, the focus is developing the skills of love. Right. And so we are going to be speaking. We have some in-stores. We have some interviews. I'm actually got a email in queue to get you on to talk about the science of numbers and love. But
wonderful.
We're going to be sharing many things throughout the 7 days and up into before we're booking now with a lot of people to do some in-stores and some celebrations in a few different states and a few different cities. So we definitely have video to show people the 23-year history, how it has spread around the world, and how to celebrate in your home and in your community.
Oh, but man, let me give that a round of applause, and let me let everybody know that I put your website, I pinned your website right here on the description. So make sure y'all go to the website and find out as much as already on the description. Their website is www.akomahouseinitiative.com. Make sure you support because Black love needs some rejuvenating. Believe that all over the world, melanated love needs some rejuvenated. And it was so funny. I was talking to my co-host on a Wednesday, and I was saying, I might get into this part-time relationship thing because I don't know, the full-time y'all bugging me out right now. There's too much going on. There's too many. infiltrated concepts in our women and men's minds right now, especially our women, because the television is inundating them, and our men in another aspect. How do we combat that or balance that out from both of y'all perspectives? Let's get it in. Come on, let's talk about this. Come on.
Overall, Montsho's talking about Akoma Day, and we're talking about he's coming to talk about men's programming in particular. Of course, I do women's programming. The overall mission, I think the goal of everything we do is for us, the melanated people, the original people, to decolonize. That's our number one problem, is that we don't recognize that we're colonized. So when we have all of these different challenges, we have, we can't get along with each other. We have thoughts and ideologies that we're holding to that are not actually even real. Of course, it's going to be difficult for us to come together. So we have to have an awareness that we have been colonized. And I think most of us do right now.
Right.
Many people do understand that something has happened.
Yes.
And most people don't understand what to do about it. So we're living our life basically on a hamster wheel, going through the motions every day. But as Montsho and I say often when we're teaching people a cultural understanding of how to approach love, is that we are, like most people, going to repeat the same thing we did yesterday. So it's up to that 80 to 90% of our thoughts are the same as yesterday. 80 to 90% of our actions are the same as yesterday. And so even though we know that something has happened to us, we don't have a system to decolonize all of the areas of our life, because when you're in a relationship, every area of your life infuses together. So the challenge that we have is sometimes you can go to work and do a task. Sometimes you can do something for yourself and just focus on, I'm just eating. And even all of that is colonized, actually, like what we eat, the ingredients, how we work, and the goals of work. But when you're in a relationship, every facet of your life infuses into how you interact with this person. So what you ate influences your relationship, how you work, the time you work, what you're working on influences your relationship. And so we have to understand that all of the areas of how we interact with each other have been colonized, and we have to decolonize. And then, as we often say, we have to re-Africanize, we have to recommit to something that is original, natural, and indigenous to us. And that is actually, that's the solution, very simply, but because colonizing, there's still a dominant colonial force on the planet that's trying to assault us, even in our dreams.
Yes.
So because that's happening, it's very easy to say we have to decolonize, but how to do that, where to do that, where is it safe to do that, how do you even approach it, and what is it systemically? That is the work that we're doing, because that's what's necessary, is to figure out.
I'm proud of the work. I'm proud of the work. And when you meet this couple, they're tall too, so they really present themselves. When they come in, the aura comes with them, and then their children is there with them. It's a whole thing that that we all aspire and strive to have and want to have. But there's a lot of, I myself going through marriage 3 times. And, sometimes I feel that, we didn't understand each other. We didn't understand how to complement each other. Not because, Europeans always say, opposites attract, when in actuality, in yin and yang, it's a complementary. It's not opposite attract. It complements work together. How do us, and how does the initiative for both men and women, how can we redevelop that complement? And how
the first thing is our thoughts, like you said, and salute to you. Give yourself a round of applause for marrying 3 times, because that's really important. And we encourage you, and we support you to do it a 4th time.
Malcolm said, do it till you get it right.
Yeah, that's important. Some of us think it's a shame in that, or we should stop, but actually it's more honorable to embrace the institution of marriage multiple times throughout your lifetime than to try to justify being alone when you really ain't alone, and you dipping over here and there and whatnot.
Masha, I want to say something real quick. Right when you're at that point, Baba Heru said in a class I heard that they was talking about Elizabeth Taylor and how she got married this amount of time, and he said at least she got married.
Yeah,
those amount of time.
I was in that class.
I heard about that.
We all tell that story because we were the first crossing of Divine Sacred King Man in 1999. And we graduated in 2000, and it was 31 of us. 30 of us crossed over.
Right.
And we spent like a year and a half with Baba Haru in initiation. And I'm using that framework, that very exact same framework in Akoma King. But we were talking about the intimate relationship with women. And at that time, Elizabeth Taylor was, I think she was on her 7th out of her 8 marriages or something like that. And so we were, we were young Black men, and we were all sitting around like, look at this white woman. She's ridiculous. Who gets married 8 times? Leave it alone. This, that, and the third. And we were cracking jokes, and Baba Haru just let us speak. And then in his infinite wisdom, he said very calmly, as a wise sage man, he said, young brothers, it is more honorable for a woman of any race, of any stature, to marry 9, 10 times, 8 times, 7 times, than it is for a woman to sleep with 7, 8, 10, 15, 20 men and never get married. He said, Elizabeth Taylor is a multimillionaire. She has ultimate access and wealth in her community, and she doesn't have to marry for protection or security, but she's marrying repeatedly because she believes in the institution of marriage. One of the things wrong with our sisters, and what's evident wrong with our brothers in this conversation, we don't even value the institution. We want all the benefits of the institution before we commit to it, and that will never happen. So we're out of order, even in our beliefs, because that's a big thing that is hurting our relationships. Relationships are simple. They're not always easy, but they're simple. But most people believe they're complex, so they make them hard to deal with. And so Baba Haru really enlightened us that day. And when he finished talking, we just all sat there in silence, and we were thinking about the wisdom in that. And right now, wherever I go, I move around the country, and I hear people retell the story, because there was 30 of us in there. That was one of the highlight days of our rites of passage. We used to meet every Friday and in the temple, and
in Brooklyn.
That's an enlightening moment for all of us. And since that time, I always applaud people who say, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this again. And I'm going to keep doing it until I master it. So when I see a Black man like you, King Simon,
I know,
world renowned, you got access, you got wealth, you got health, you look good. If you are willing to do it over again, that's a beautiful thing, and that's worthy of salute. So
thank you, man. Again, give that round of applause for your answer, and also for Baba Haru, man. Because Baba Haru, I got to get him on, man. I've never had him on my show. I've had him on. He's been on other places and other platforms. I was emceed a few things with him.
The first thing that we did with you ever in Brooklyn, you had Baba Haru there. And, but that was an in-person event at the college.
For him.
Beautiful event.
Beautiful event. Black Lady Theater. At the Black Lady Theater.
That was the first time we had saw Baba Haru in a while, and we were excited to see him that day. So yeah, absolutely. We all need to have Baba Haru everywhere. I'm inviting him to come in and drop a jewel as we go through this 14-week rites of passage, and I just want to talk about it really briefly. It's called Akoma King. It's a culturally based rites of passage that focus on emotional fitness, 7 pillars of emotional fitness, and social responsibility for Black men who desire to perfect being lovers, to scholars, lovers, warriors, and kings. And so we have an ancient framework that I'm using from a lot of my jegnas, which include Baba Haru, which include Ashra Kwesi, which include Khaled Abdul Muhammad, which include Infudishi, which include Maladoma Some, and a Botswana elder who is mystically remaining nameless, but is extremely profound in his teachings that I am going through right now. And so we have Akoma King is a 14-week program because we want to have emotional fitness. Black men we're in a lot of pain. So first of all, we're lonely and we're pretending that we're not.
Right.
We're trauma riddled. We're filled with psychological traumas from our youth and our parents and our upbringing. A lot of times our relationships have left serious traumatic wounds on our hearts and our minds. We're victimized by violence. We're confused. We're depressed. We're culturally misoriented.
Yeah.
We're sexually dangerous. And we are fighting the very brothers that we need to ally with to create a unified front. We're talking way up in the sky, and we are the most beautiful men on the planet. We are the parent people of the planet, but we're failing to launch into an authentic and dynamic manhood. We're failing to launch. And we're having this failure to launch at 85, 75, 65, 55, 45, 35, 25, 15. So this rites of passage is for adult men 18 to 81 and older. In fact, I have 2 men signed up. My youngest 2 men right now are 24, 2 twins, Ephi twins from Florida. And then I have a brother and his 3 sons, but he is 78. I think his oldest son is 49, I believe he said. But they are signed up. So it is a process, because men have to understand. Sometimes we look at rites of passage and we think, oh, I'm 45, I'm 55, I'm past that. But manhood is a perpetual experience.
Yeah.
And we need a framework to define and refine manhood over and over. But specifically right now, as you said, with this gender war thing going crazy, we need to do, we're the least married men. We're the men who marry the latest in life. We're the men who marry outside of our race more than all the other men combined, which says that we have a self-esteem problem. Because anytime you want to marry someone other than yourself, it is saying, it's a projection that is saying who I am is not valid enough. So to validate myself, I will then go out there and find someone who is not only other than me, but essentially is better than me. And that's a psychological, that's the effect of a psychological wound. And so we're the most beautiful men in the world, but we're in the worst condition. And we can't edify manhood by ourselves. You know, as Nwasha said, it's the thought, speech, and all the action. One of the greatest devastating thoughts that we have is that we can be men by ourselves. We know we can't become men by ourselves. But then when a lot of us say, I reached manhood, I often ask men, give me 3 times in your life when you knew that you became a man. And then if we dig deeper, whatever they say, we will find after they cross that threshold, then they took the lonely path like Kung Fu, walking around with the little bag and they just by themselves. All other men in the world are squatted, and they're not just squatted for the sake of having sport and play conversation, which is cool. You know, some people think LeBron is the GOAT. Some people think Jordan is the GOAT. Okay, Jordan is the GOAT. But okay, so we can have that. We can do that. But then where is the weigh in on our relationships and how we, like you said, rescue our women from these delusional thoughts of feminism and fairy taleism? We rescue ourselves from our self delusions of talking in the sky and being supermen. but everybody else is building grocery stores, hospitals, schools. They're doing all of these things. They're building militaries. And we sit and like we making rap albums till we 90. We painting pictures. We doing all kind of things that are nothing's wrong with them in and of themselves. We're artistic people, but we need more balance. As you were saying at the beginning, having the balance of being in front of the camera and then understanding the science behind the camera. So Akoma King seeks to establish and to recondition the art and science of Black manhood in a collective group of loyal support, heal your trauma, become a better lover, become a better scholar, become a better warrior, become a better king, take your Black woman, your children, and all of these things and, live out your purpose in the world.
And, give that a round of applause. Family, we are broadcasting on Instagram, we're broadcasting on Twitter, we're broadcasting on YouTube, we're broadcasting on 2 Facebook pages, and I just posted it on your page so people can see it on your page also.
Thank you.
So
you're amazing.
we are amazing. That's how I do. We're here with Montsho and Nwasha, our guest founder of the Akoma House Initiative, author, and also contact them via 609-474-4203. That's 609-474-4203. Akoma House Initiative at gmail.com is the email, and their PayPal. If you want to spread love, make sure you go to paypal.me /Akoma House Initiative, and Cash App. I spelled cash wrong, but I'm going to change that. A Cash App, $Akoma House. Make sure you show them some love on the highest and the most respectable level, because they're doing the work that we need in this community, family. Believe me, as a young man in this community, not having a father that was in and out of the family and was a womanizer, and something that I picked up later on being a club owner. And my father opened the nightclub the year I was born, so I was introduced to the life of illicit madness going on back in the club days. And I did sharpen my teeth in those club life, is how to deal with certain relationships and how to deal with the gangsters and how to deal with that. So everything was a learning lesson for me. And I remember Montsho and Nwasha that my father and mother sat myself and my sister down years ago, and there was an anger that I had, and she had her, and my sister had her anger. And they said, we never really, in the Caribbean, they never was taught how to raise a family. They just was watched because, usually children was told to be silent and not talk and don't ask questions and all that kind of stuff. So they honestly came out to us and say, we was hands-on. We didn't know how to raise y'all. So we didn't even understand how to teach y'all about sex, because my sexual prowess was learned on the streets and the clubs with the women and the young, having hooky parties and doing all that kind of stuff. So, how do a lot of young men and women re-establish and realign with what a man and a woman is supposed to be, not only in relationship, but as far as part of their family, and also being able to forgive their parents, because sometimes their parents didn't know. How do we start that?
Excellent question, because I say often that Black men have daddy issues, right? And we all do. I actually grew up with my father, very close with him until I was 20 years old. And he moved us into a community where it was family. So we moved from a all Black urban environment to a mixed, where it was it was about 300-400 Black families in the middle of about 4,000 or 5,000 white families. And I hate it. I thought I was so angry with my dad, but he said, we have to be around families, because it's families that teach families how to be family. It's men who teach males and boys how to be men. It's women who teach females and girls how to be women. And it's people in relationships that teach other people how to be successful in relationships. And so we are not individualists, although we're living that way as a result of our trauma. You spoke about a lot of parallel things. I You know, a lot of us, as I said, Black men are sexually dangerous. We're using promiscuity to mask a lot of the emotional traumas that we're feeling. I was sexually molested as a child, and after I was introduced to fornication at, you know, prepubescent, I couldn't wait to experiment this with women, you know. And so I spent a 15-year, like 20-year period that I've been paying for the last 20 years, in that, you know, I had children with multiple women. I have 7 children, 4 with my wife, but 3 outside of that. And the dynamics of the impact of our decision making on our children is continuous. And you're right. Individuals will never know how to parent. Individuals will never know how to be in relationships. Individuals will never understand how to be men or women, because it's culture that teaches how to be married. It's culture that teaches how to build family. It's culture that teaches men and women how to effectively manifest as that, as they go through the cycles of their life. It's not YouTube. It's not a book. It's not a video you saw. It's not a rites of passage you did one time. It is a perpetual culture. This is why when you travel around the world, if you talk about rearing children, if you talk about marriage, if you talk about manhood, if you talk about womanhood, and you talk to someone of another culture, they will say, well, in my culture, so and so and so and so, because they understand that it's culture that informs us around these issues. But for us, a traumatized people who are recovering from the greatest ma'afa in the history of the world, we think our individual opinion can be imposed on another. And when we find a mate, we realize that's not true, because women and men are very different. Although we're complements like a lock and a key, our structure and our function is extremely different. So when a key tries to impose key science on a lock rejects that. When a lock tries to impose lock science on a key, the key rejects that. But it also happens with our children. We have all these ideas and we forget you're not just having a baby. As my wife says, you're going to have a teenager one day. You're going to have an adult one day. My oldest son is 30 years old next month. And we're close, and we're working through some things, me, him, and his mother, in counseling, striving to work out some of the challenges that we was together for. Really, we say 2 years, but it was like 1.5 years. And now here it is, 29 years later, the ripple effect of some of that immaturity and those decisions that we made, and the way we, you know, fought and argued. And, you know, one of the things that develops, because all dis-ease has a psychological root. When you argue and fight around children, often those children will develop eczema. And because the skin is a protective vehicle, not just biologically, but spiritually as well. And so when the child feels traumatized, uneasy, uncertain, unsafe, they develop a defense mechanism. And so a lot of the rashing and skin diseases like eczema and whatnot. And in my son's early age, he developed that because we were constantly fighting. And, you know, we were 22, 23, you know, screaming, yelling, immature, throwing stuff, and then having sex, and then fighting, and, you know, like on TV. Oh, I hate you. Oh, let's have sex. And then, you know, so we're, as a group, we're in a psychologically immature state because we don't have our culture.
And, you know, let's get that around. Very good. And Nwasha, I wanted to ask you, Sister Nwasha, that, you know, friend of mine's who's also a priestess in big up the priestess Yendes, Got to bring her.
Yes.
I was talking to her recently,
and I'm gonna. Her.
Yeah, I love her too. I'm gonna have
she
on.
She hosted Akoma Day in Brooklyn, and
yes, I heard. I think I remember. Yeah. I think you need to take it to a Nicholas Brooklyn this time. I think.
Yeah.
So I know Monique is watching, so big up to Monique from Nicholas.
Peace, Monique. We reached out to Monique. We gonna set it up, Monique. We calling you this week.
Yeah, but like I was saying, I wanted to go back because she decided to do a bathhouse healing ceremony, like back in the day when Queen and them used to do the bathhouses and all that. So, she wanted to make it co-ed, but again, sisters, I don't want to, we don't want to be around men, and certain sisters of religious background. And I understood when she did, but because I'm in the whole feed, and I said to him, see, the problem now is, or the issue that is now, that women are the only ones working on healing, but they're not opening up and showing that men need to work on healing also. They have to work on their healing. Our healing is not the boxing. Our healing is not football. Our healing is, right. I mean, it's a release. I can be honest with that. It can be a release to go punch a bag and all that kind of stuff when you're upset and you don't want to hit somebody. It could be a release. But when it comes to the need for men to heal finally and work on themselves, they're kind of reluctant. They don't trust too many of the men groups because we don't know if they're gay infiltrated and this kind of tranny. I don't care what it is. I hardly trust going to men's group, because I don't know what intentions people have nowadays. And how do we as men, especially with the program that you're about to do in guidance towards men and women, how do we heal that? How does men work on that to be trust? Because a lot of us still, myself included, have trust issues. So what's going on? Let's talk about that, please.
Ultimately, all trust issues come from feeling that you're not going to be able to handle yourself in a situation. If you don't trust someone to drive and you always have to be the driver, if you don't trust someone to fulfill contracts with you, right? A lot of times it's because we realize that there's an element of trust that means you're not in control. And I think one of the challenges is in women and men, we have different ways of protecting ourselves while we are under oppression. One of the ways that men are protecting themselves and that they derive a sense of certainty from is being able to control things.
Right.
So if your sense of certainty only comes from self, you're going to have a challenge trusting. We all need to practice the kind of certainty that comes beyond self, which is, if it's going to be, scientific, that you believe that you can keep breathing, that you don't have to go find oxygen. If it is scientific that you think I can go to sleep because my heart will keep beating, right? There are times in our lives where we can be very, very, very trusting, but we're not always conscious of it. Some people are trusting in their spirituality and they believe in something beyond their life, beyond what they see. Other people are very trusting in science, right? Black people are the most spiritual, though, on the planet. So we have that to our advantage, whether we have a claimed religion or not. We tend to believe that there's more than us. So the thing to do is to trust in that rather than I'm going into a men's group. It's the same as what you were mentioning about your parents. We have to understand our parents are people. And I think we get to that eventually when we are older and when we potentially have children. We realize all the gaps in our idea and our heart versus our delivery. So we hopefully get to the point where we extend that also to our parents and grandparents. And we pray that our children will extend that to us eventually. I think the same thing has to happen when we enter into men's groups, because women say the same thing. Amazingly, we may have more external practice in having the sisterhood circles, and people may be able to see that in pictures and videos. But many women still say to me, I can't trust a sister group because when I was in one, blah, 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 blah. And I think, it's hard because we're wanting to heal, and it's a very private and personal thing to reveal something to another person in the name of collective healing. Even though we know everyone's going through a similar thing, our story is the one that we resonate with the most. What we have to be able to do is say, our story has a purpose, divine purpose. Otherwise, we wouldn't be living it. Everything on the planet has a purpose. And if we share it and someone misuses the information, they're a human being and they can be faulty. that one person doesn't destroy the group, right? And I think that that's sometimes our challenge. We don't trust because we're not in control. And we also don't trust because we can't control the individuals. So we don't control the group we're going into, and we don't control the individuals, and things change. So that is something that we have to be able to do, is recognize and practice the times where we're already trusting, and bring more awareness to that. Like, so bring more consciousness to the fact that we actually trust a lot when we get into the car, when we buy food, when we, go to work, we trust we're going to get paid. We trust, we're going to be able to breathe. There's so many times that we're actually very accepting that the ground will not disintegrate when we take our steps, but we take it for granted so much that it's very deep in our subconscious. If we say to ourselves, there are many times when I trust and things go well, and there are some times when I trust and things do not go well, what happens when things don't go well? Then it becomes the trust in myself to have appropriate action after things don't go well. You can go into any group and stand up for yourself. You can go into any group and make the group better because of your presence there. And that's something that we have to accept, like Montsho was saying. The first thing that we have to accept in a natural world, we're not alone. We don't get to the planet alone, and we're not meant to live alone. So we have to accept that. We also have to accept in any other area of life, we would move faster with other people. Our goals would be reached earlier, and they would be more proficient, they would be done better. Anything that we could do would be done faster and better with someone else. Now, the with someone else has to be a person who's thoughtful, careful, and qualified. So this is the thing that we have to understand about going into the group and trusting. When you look at someone, you have to look at what are their results, what is their life, even if it's only with their own life, right? What is their level of expertise? Because sometimes when we go into things, we are going into them superficially and materially. And so when we go into something that's superficial and we get superficial results, we want to blame the group or we want to blame the people, when really what we have to say is, everywhere I go, that there's going to be benefit. Everything I do, like you were mentioning about your life, your life is designing your soul, your personality through all of the experiences. If something is crazy, but you look back on it and make use in a way that is life forward and life-giving, then that craziness serves a purpose. So when we go to the group, it's not going to be perfect. So I'm going to say that, like, this is the asterisk. Any group that you sign up for is about to be a group full of human beings. So there's going to be something that's imperfect, because every human is imperfect. We only reach perfection after we transition from a human life, right? And we know all things. So in the midst of dealing with a human being, something's not going to go well. So what we all need to work on is our sense of self and how and who we want to be. What is our identity? What is our own acceptance and proficiency with a minimum level of integrity? That when we're in the group and we don't like something, we address it in the way that it has the most grace and that is still life forward and group forward. If we go into a group and something is not perfect and we take offense to it and we react from offenses and we offend others, you're going to have terrible experiences. So I think the thing to think of is, make sure that the group that you're going into, that you're looking for the person, not to be critical of them, but you're looking to say, are they qualified to help me where I am right now? Do they have something that I want that they can help me get that? If they do, then go into the group. Go into the group also with the idea that you are going to serve the group and that you're not just going to be greedy and try to take. If you show up willing to give, you're going to be able to give, and the group is going to benefit from you. When you show up saying this person is qualified, you'll be able to sort through their personality that you might have challenges with for the universal and natural truths of whatever they're giving. And then that's what adds to you. And you get more and more confident with that. You then can go into any group the same way that when people get more proficient in their work, more proficient in their parenting, you can be around any child and have a positive influence. You can be in any environment, and your level of expertise is what you rely on when you go in to make a business deal, when you go in to support someone with that kind of proficiency. As soon as we do that personally and in interrelationships, right? Not just a relationship with ourselves, but with other people, what happens is we then develop more and more trust, not because of the other people, but because of our level of skill and our level of confidence. And that's what we really need to be able to do to interact with anyone. People who are traumatized have less confidence about themselves because someone aggressed upon them, and they have less confidence in others because people didn't take care of them. So a part of getting over our trauma is to build our natural courage, which is what we have when we're children, and to build our level of confidence, which means when I step, the same way we're confident about our next breath and our heartbeat and the steps we take on the planet, we have to be confident that when I interact with someone and it doesn't go well, I can restore balance with them. I can draw boundaries, and I can not negate and destroy the entire person because of something that didn't go well. You know, I think that's the most important thing. Qualified teachers and personal confidence, where your sense of certainty comes from something other than the other person who is also not perfect.
Yeah, we're both clinical therapists, and we're married. We're married 23 years, and we're also initiates over like a combined now 50 years that we've been going through. So that's why when I outlined, I put up the link for.
I got it right there. I put it in the description, and I send it up to the top.
I appreciate that, and we have one more live Q&A. We had one last week. A bunch of people came out, and a lot of women came out. Well, I go over the program, show you what we're focusing on. I talk to you about my 6 teachers and what I've learned from them in real time, not on YouTube or reading their books only. And I forgot to mention one that we have in common. That I spent 20 years with, Laila O Africa, who's now in the ancestral realm. The teachers that I mentioned, the framework that we're using is far beyond us. It's what our ancestors used to refine, to establish and refine manhood. But, you know, a lot of people are cynical because exactly what Nwasha said. We have a term that we in pop culture that we call emotional baggage, but I'm all about word purge and word cultivation, as Queen Afua and Baba Haru taught us. We have to really call it what it is, and it's unresolved trauma. Because if we call it emotional baggage, we feel that it's okay to bring it with us everywhere. We go on the trip, and I'm bringing my emotional baggage. But if we call it unresolved trauma, then it indicates that it needs to be resolved. We don't trust each other because we have unresolved trauma. That's what it is. That's all it is. We as men, I'm talking about, as Black men, we are we feel the most disrespected, the most lonely, and the most cynical. And so really the only things that excite us is sex, food, and sport and play. And so everything else, we're cynical about children.
You can't control any of that. Sex, food, or sport and play, all up to chance. But it's exciting.
And you know, I want to share something with y'all real quick, okay? If you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And this year is an appropriate year that's coming up. That 2024 is a very appropriate year for what y'all are about to do, especially because it adds up to the disciplinary number of the 8. But when you add 20 plus 24, that adds up to 44, which 44 in that holistic perspective that Dr. Africa told me to look at, because a lot of people won't even notice that because they're only adding this across. But in 44, if that's a number 44 before it reaches the 8, 44 in numerology is the number of dedicated workers establishing balance and building worlds and solid foundation in the unification of the creative force. So that's what 44 stands for in compound and master number theology of numerology. So going into 2024, doing what you're about to do, especially because 4 is known as a feminine number, and so 8 is numbers of number. But in the flow line aspect of the number 4, when you start seeing too many lines, that's the masculine aspect molding with the feminine aspect in a structural manner. So this year that we're going into is a disciplinary master year that we must, if we work towards it and willing to play and enjoy what we're working towards, then it can be very beneficial in a master 44 year that we're going into, which equates to the number 8. And each one of these numbers are all healing numbers. The 2, 4, 6, 4, 2, 4, and 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. All in numerology is all about healing. So we're going into one of those frequencies this year. So I commend what y'all are doing as far as
brother. Please inbox me the dates for your next class. I bought your book and I'm reading your book and I put it down, but I read 5 pages of it and it blew my mind.
Oh wow!
And I said, "Oh, I gotta call a brother right now," And I got caught up with my children, and a couple days passed, and then you know how life is. So
yeah, right. I'll send you a complimentary link. Just
three of the books that I'm reading right now are on my dresser. So I just pick them up and just start going in. And
that's what I do. Yeah.
Book. And I'm just like, I'm so blown away about the depth of the understanding that you have of this important science. And that's why I want you to come through and share it with our group. So we're going to talk about that. But
I'll be happy to do a nice presentation.
I think that, what you're saying is, listen, the world is not going to get right until we get right. Exactly. Because we are the parent people of humanity. And just like we all grow to a point, to your earlier point, we grow to a point and we begin to understand our parents, not from a symbolic level that this is mommy and daddy, but from a practical level that this was a man and a woman, a human being, a flawed human being in a set of circumstances that, when I used to hear, and I was a child, a term that used to annoy me is when I would hear adults say, I did the best that I could with what I had. And I used to, as a parent, and I used to be like, wow. And then they used to say, well, it's not like parenting comes with the handbook. And I say, now I've grown and I'm so grateful and full of gratitude to the ancestors and to the mother, father, creator for putting me on a path that helped me see one thing. Parenting, marriage, and all of these things do come with a handbook. That handbook is called your culture. But I do understand that we all do the best that we can when we find ourselves in precarious situations where we're unskilled and we're dealing with dynamics that are fast and swift and changeable, and we have to make decisions between the lesser of two evils and other things. And so we move our children, we mate with other people, we try to get support, we make wrong decisions. We're never in a state of peace and in true reflection in our mental realm and our emotional realm when we're in these environments, because all of these things are the result of the abnormality of aggression, right? We're a people being aggressed upon. And so when we're in this state and you're striving to love, you're striving to have children and raise a family and be able to take care of your physical needs and have a home and then contribute to the larger group and enjoy life and all of these things in the middle of a war, it's amazing. It's a testament to our strength that we even survive and that we're even here. We're the strongest people on the planet, unquestionably, irrefutably, because nobody could survive what we have been through and still be the leaders of thought in all the areas of human interaction. And so we are really looking, I have a divine love for Black men, and I'm here to really share my manhood journey and talk about how I need Black men to continue to be the best men that I could be. I need y'all brothers, not just to join my program. Supernova has a program. Supernova Islam. Man, heal thyself. I have come to his group and done classes on relationships. I know there's a group that I don't know how they're moving, but I think they're called Sage Men. There's the Cave of Adullam, and those are the only 4 that I know of. But we have
of course the FOI, the Nation of Islam.
Absolutely.
The Hebrew.
The Nation of Islam has one of the greatest rights programs that exists in the country. And so we have to squat up because none of us, we are the most brilliant minds. We quote history, right? And we talk about single individuals that invent things or that accomplish things. But a lot of times I think we have become polarized in an individualized concept that all of these people are by themselves. When you really get in their story, they come from a group and they had a lot of teachers and support around them. So the reason we're all so gracious when we're aware is because we know that we're an extension and standing on the shoulders of a continuum of Black excellence, right? You can't do nothing by yourself. You can't be in a relationship by yourself. If you're one of these people who think you're going to find your soulmate and it's you and them against the world and y'all going to go off on some island, it'll be over in less than 2 years. We need each other. We need each other, and we do need qualified people. And that's why we come to your platform so much, because we love your sincere expertise, not even just around your spiritual craft, because your numeration is a high level spiritual craft of alchemy and spiritual wisdom, but just your background in entertainment and things like that. We have turned information into entertainment so much that there is a lot of imposters out here. There are people, as clinical therapists, we watch things sometimes that people are doing and they mean well, but they're unqualified to deal with what happens when people start going into crisis in these events and in these things where you're bringing up stuff that is very traumatic for them, and you don't really have the skill to deal with it. The same as when I tell you, bro, when we first came to your event, and even when I'm watching you here right now, the level of expertise, the way the event was put together, and the fluidity of it, and the concept of all the people that you had, the thread, it was, it was like the size of a few hundred people, a smaller event compared to the grandiose, like the Million Man March. But the level of expertise visible was really impressive. And we said from that moment, this is a brother that we're going to continue to follow. We're going to buy all of his stuff. We're going to continue to support him. We're going to continue to work with him and continue to utilize his greatness to share with his network. So that's why we're here. But we have to be qualified. And today, we don't even know. For example, like you said, there are 95% of the people who are on social media, all platforms that talk about relationships, are not even in relationships. And they got thousands and thousands and thousands of followers about a theory, an idea, and really all they're doing is trauma bonding because they're angry at men or they're hurt by women. And so they're spewing venom, and they attract other people who have a similar resonance. And so they're like I give you an example, a brother that I reached out to and whatnot. He's in the ancestral realm. Kevin Samuels is oftentimes called a relationship expert, and he failed at marriage twice and was not in a relationship. So how do you become? That's like a out of shape person saying I am a fitness expert, or a broke person saying I am a financial expert. But he resonated because he spoke to the pendulum swing of feminism is the manosphere, where men are hurt, they're tired of being abused. And so rather than us healing, they're spewing a venom. And Kevin Samuels spoke a lot of truths in some of his analysis of the problems, but then he didn't really offer solutions, and the berating style that he used to address the problem became so sensational that he lost it. But I said I had faith in the brother, and I reached out to him. He came to the Black Love School, or somebody saying it was him came to the Black Love School.
It could be him.
But it was definitely, I believe it was him, because right after I sent them the letters and stuff like that, he came. But he
he born March 13th. He a Pisces, right?
Yeah, like I am. So I'm March 3rd. So
I know. And I spoke to Sister Shahrazad, and she was him and Sister.
Yeah, they were coming together.
Yeah, I talked to it yesterday. I talked to it the other day. Yeah.
I told Nwasha, I said, listen, I reached out to this brother. He is about to make a change because I think he was able to see, okay, I made $1 million, whatever, but now what's happening is not working. And I got a daughter and I get, I'm out here. So I think that he was starting to he ran with the sensationalism and talking slick to the women and all of that. But then after a while, I think he was a very intelligent man. So I think he was coming to
I learned a lot from him.
Yeah. He had a lot of truths and all of that. But again, he wasn't a therapist. And his advice would be go to therapy.
He'll send people to therapy.
He wasn't a therapist. And what I thought was amazing was by his value system, he was talking about high value men, which is an alien concept, and that's not our stuff. But he was, by his standard, a high value man, and he himself wasn't in a relationship. So I always thought that was interesting. But the whole point that I'm making is we have to know who is qualified to get something from, and we have to release the savior complex, because all of us have something. I am the type of brother that, I talk about my elders, but I'm in awe of my peers, brothers like you, and many other brothers that I'm not just in awe euphemistically. I put up easily $10,000 a year learning from brothers like yourself. Buying programs, coming on trips with brothers, learning, sharing in their expertise. And even though I am a teacher in many regards, I love to be a student. And that's why in Akoma King, we say you have to study to show yourself approved, so you become a scholar. Once you're a scholar, then you serve, and love is service. Now you become a qualified lover because you can serve. Once you can serve, you better advance and defend that thing that's important to you. Now you become a warrior. And then once you are an effective warrior, you become a sovereign decision maker, and you become a king. And so this is why Akoma King is for scholars, lovers, warriors, and kings, because these are the characteristics of manhood. As you can see, the Nyan Sapu, the intelligence knot, is the scholar. You see our logo there. You see the Akoban war horn, and then the crown. This style of crown, just so people know, comes from Ethiopia. Ethiopia is not a European crown, although Europeans popularized this style of crown. It was created as the rays of the sun coming from the head. So these things that we this 14 weeks rites of passage is a beautiful experience. We're going to become emotionally fit. We're going to get emotional intelligence, emotional literacy, emotional vocabulary, emotional demonstration, emotional strength, emotional flexibility, and emotional endurance. We're going to get social responsibility, which is understanding how to do the right thing at the right time for the right reasons in all situations, including our relationships with each other, our women, our children, etc. We're going to build a loyal brotherhood. We're going to have fun. We cry together. We release together. We laugh. We learn deep, transformative information, and then we all contribute our gifts to a collective whole using a framework that our ancestors have used for thousands of years to make the Sahu, the transmigration from malehood, boyhood into manhood, to know what the difference is, and to have a place where we could be ourselves, heal our trauma, let our guard down, laugh, have fun, enlighten ourselves, edify ourselves, and serve ourselves as a collective group. I think it's one of the most important, and I'm not even saying, I'm being immodest. I'm not saying this because I'm doing it. I think these kinds of things are one of the most important things in the world. In fact, I'm a clinical therapist, but my master thesis when I was working on my master's degree was about the importance of rites of passage for Black men and using a rites of passage to reestablish Black manhood throughout the diaspora. So this is a big part of my life's work, and I'm really honored to offer it to anybody who's interested.
Well, I want to thank both of y'all for coming on and spreading love. People, the links are in the description right here.
Yeah, I want to. Can I just put the link for the live Q&A for next week?
Oh yeah. Send it to me to the private chat, and then I'll put it up there.
Okay. So that way, this is for men and women. You can see the whole program, see the structure, see everything we're dealing with, and ask any questions. And this will be the last one because I've done a few of them. But then next Wednesday, the following Wednesday, the 20th, the program starts. So I don't know. Let me see how I can put this.
Can you put it? Give me the link in the private chat like you did.
Yeah, I'll put it in the private chat.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Family, remember this is King Simon Presents Only Quality People on YouTube. We're broadcasting not only on YouTube, but we're broadcasting on Facebook. We're broadcasting on Twitter, and we're broadcasting on Instagram still. So family, please share, like, subscribe. So much stuff is coming up in 2020, in 2024, and the next cycles because everything is about spiraling up and not spiraling down and not being complacent or comfortable. And of course, get their book, of course, the Akoma Day book. They give you the 7 virtues of Ma'at. They give you the 10 principles of Ma'at. They give you the 42 laws of Ma'at. Everything that they're dealing with is based on bringing the balance so humanity can understand the need for inner understanding, inner help, inner guidance, and also being willing to share it with their families, friends, communities, and all that on all levels. So I'm very proud of what Nwasha Montsho is doing on all levels. And did you send it to me in the private chat? You didn't send it to me. I didn't see it.
No,
still.
Look, I'm lost.
Yeah. Who sent me that link in the private chat before? So somebody.
That was me.
Okay, good.
Look, once you get too complex, I'm starting.
All right, I see this. This is what you have here. But if you got so that what's this? December 13th, correct?
Yes, this is December 13th. This is the live Q&A about Akoma King for men and women can come and check it out. Last time we had about 5 sisters come through to learn about the program and ask any questions for.
Is it on your website? Is it on your website?
No, it's not on the website yet, but we just sent you the private chat now right here for the link. But I'm putting it up there today. You know, we've been using our platform in the Black Love School because Akoma King is one of the courses. We got a lot of classes in the Black Love School, but we have 4 or 5 courses as well. And Akoma King is one of the courses. But so, check out the Black Love School, check out Akoma King. Akoma Queen is starting right in spring. And Nwasha is dealing with lightening the heart and the cultural femininity and vibrational energy. So, I'm dealing with emotional fitness and social responsibility. So together, that along with all the classes in the Black Love School, and we do premium counseling and coaching from African-centered perspective. So we, we're out here doing our thing, and we're one small, brick in the house of Black love.
There it is. I'm going to put it right now. The link, I'm going to put it and pin it to the top. And that's happening December 13th, right? This Wednesday?
Yes, this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, a live Q&A about Akoma King. And then December 20th, the program starts.
Okay, and I guess that will be discussed in the whole Q&A also. So I'm going to pin that in the chat also, family, so you can have that. So if you want to ask them any questions in regards to healing relationship, working relationship, unworkable relationships, things all of that, because there's a balance, believe me. Sometimes you gotta leave it alone and keep it moving. I'm not stressed at all. but I honor and respect both of y'all for coming on. And the last time I was with y'all, we was over there at Abundance Child spot. Big up to Abundance Child. I know
big up to Abundance Child in Delaware. I
sent a donation to her. I know
and the beautiful sister, I don't know if I say her name. Every time I see you, it's like some beautiful person around you. So I don't know.
Dr. Shakira, she's had me and her real good partners and good friends.
Okay.
But she's going. Her and her daughter going to Mexico today in honor of her mother, and who transitioned a couple of years ago. So big up to Dr. Shakira more. They're going to Mexico to that ancestral connection. Her and her daughter, beautiful souls. So I'm proud of what they're doing. We did salute each other before she left town, and I'm glad she's all right. But it's last thing, family, remember, do not take this lightly, because it is very important that we support not only the empresses, but also the kings, and let them do what they do as far as, and this Akoma king, a culturally based rites of passage for scholars, lovers, warriors, and kings is very important, and I'm glad that they're doing it on all capacities. Remember, the links are all pinned up on the chat, but it's also going to be in the description. I'm going to put all the links in the description so people can actually go back to it and go back to it over and over again and do the whole program. Brothers, if you need help, our brother here can very much help you. He's worked with Dr. Khaled. He's worked with Alayla Africa. He studied Dr. Sabi. He studied with Baba Heru. He studied with so many people of his teachers and on his peers. And of course, some of the healers in our community. And I had, who I had on recently, a couple of weeks ago, I had Dick Gregory's son on my show. Oh. And Baba Dick Gregory's son was going in because I have his books, The Essential Dick Gregory. And, he's a nutritionist also. So he was getting it in. And so it's so important, man. All these things are very important. And I want to thank y'all again for coming on. Any last words from both of y'all, please?
Thank you for having us, man. We just love and support you. I'm really serious about taking the class. I appreciate you breaking down the numeration of the coming year and why it's relevant. We were trying to get you that time to do a reading on us. Like, we got our hands on you. We was like, oh, let's get them. But I know you was working, and we were at the event together as co-presenters. But we're gonna get you.
I always say, I'm on the premise all the time that people that are already making it work, just keep on working. Y'all don't need me at all. I tell, I remember Dame Dash came on Brother Rich show, and Rich mentioned my name, and me and Dame finally met at Billy Carson's thing at the event. But when he said, I know what it is, but I don't really need it, because he moves naturally in it. If you're naturally moving in what you're moving, you don't need guidance from me. You just need to keep on naturally moving the way you move it. I tell people that all the time. I said, because the natural GPS is the intuition. It's your guide. That's your sense.
Well, I'm a brother who appreciates the brotherhood.
Yes, sir.
I went on tour with Samora, the comedian.
Yes, of course. I know Samora. She came to film my shows back in the day.
Samora is from my town. We love Samora. She's the greatest.
Yeah, she's born May 15th. Yeah.
And she took us on tour with Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, and Steve Harvey. Right? Wow. So I had a company called Montsho Apparel. We did clothing. And we were working her tours and selling her clothes, that, T-shirts and stuff that we had made. And she was always overpaying us. And I was like, why are you paying us so much money for this? Right? And she said, I appreciate you. And I want you around. And so for me, it's not always about, I want to always be around people who have an expertise that I don't have. And even if I'm proficient in something, I like to stay in the bosom of knowledge and have the brotherhood, because, when my father died when I was 20, I was just about to turn 21 and become a legal man. I felt a great sense of loneliness. And since that time in my life, I have always appreciated and had a fondness for brothers who have skill or are passionate or sincere, intelligent, and have a strength or have a characteristic that I don't. So I will always go that extra step and edify brothers, because not necessarily you, but when I interact with brothers, some of them are extremely talented, but they feel alone. They feel misunderstood. They feel neglected. It's like the Tupac syndrome, you just feel misunderstood and not appreciated for who you are.
I did security for Tupac, so I know exactly.
I always go out of my way. I don't care if I You wouldn't believe how many people I've bought their relationship program, and I've been teaching this for 25 years, a clinical therapist. Not that I can't learn anything, but some stuff I go to and it's really not good. But I appreciate the brothers, and so I will always pay, I will always show up, and I will always participate in anything that somebody is doing that's forward thinking. So we gonna get you. I'm gonna find you. We gotta do it in person, but I'm also gonna join your program. And
I'll send you a complimentary link. Don't worry about it. The recent one I did 3 hours. It was 3 hours applied numeration. So the 8-hour course is different. It's like that's $444. But anybody that does that is actually down to $333.
It's only $400.
You said the same thing, Lloyd. Everybody, because I feel like that. Dr. Africa told me, "Yo, King, you can charge."
Come on.
And I said, Baba, I really want.
Listen, I was reading the book, and I only got like 12 pages in. The book is worth $400.
well, the next numerology book is gonna be at least $100. I already know.
Come on, brother. Come on.
I know what I have to offer.
We out here. We're $1 trillion community. That's another thing. We are wealthy and at the same time poor because of the decisions we're making and the way our money isn't recycling.
Right.
People talk about that recycle of the Jews and all of that. I heard a statistic that during Black Wall Street, we had the most recycled dollar in American history.
Right, exactly.
It was 2 years. The dollar was recycled in that community before it would go out. So we got to get back to that. But I just love and appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too, my brother, for coming through, and thank you.
And I want to thank you. I know you had a all-star lineup cast planned, and you were able to get us on at a request that was late. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem, my brother. Thank you very much. And again, we want to thank the beloved family, man. And y'all make sure y'all go to a YouTube channel, their Facebook, their Instagram, Black Love School, the YouTube channel, Akoma Day Every Day, and Facebook, Instagram. And of course, make sure you hit up all their links, man, and show them some love. And thank you very much, Baba, for coming through, man.
Thank you for having me, beloved.
Love and light, man. That's right.
See you soon. See you soon.
Thank you.
Content disclaimer. The views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teachers, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
This is Professor Nwasha Montsho Edu, Way of the Warrior Spirit. So we're here to go over the rules and try to make that as swift as possible for you guys. So the rules essentially are very few. Number one is to follow us on TikTok at The Island Monk, or if you have Instagram, you can follow us at Warrior Temple Island University. Or if you really love us and want to show us support, you can follow us at both. You're going to find the Kata Shodachi, and you're either going to duet us on TikTok or collab with us on Instagram and win 10 tickets for every additional video you do beyond that. So as we say with all the warriors, eye to eye, heart to heart, each one teach one. Us.
Hey, this is King Simon, the international numero beta. Remember, get all my books on Amazon or go to Linktree/King Simon, the numero beta. And remember, don't forget to book my sessions at 347-496-1022. Book now. Some people think that this esoteric knowledge is for the rich and powerful. When in actuality, the so-called 85% has a spark in them that if it is sparked through numerology, astrology, motivation, whatever, it will raise them up from an 85%, maybe to a 10%, and eventually they become the 5%, the poor or prosperous righteous teachers. You gotta understand that this knowledge is not just for one class of people. We gotta get out of the class.